Hello Zenith women and welcome to the channel. The loneliest people are the kindest, the saddest people smile the brightest, and the most independent souls hate their birthdays the most. Birthdays, for many, are a reason to celebrate, bask in attention, and relish the passage of another year. But for Sigma females, the enigmatic, fiercely independent wolves of society, they are a different beast entirely. While others might blow out candles with glee, Sigma females often view the day with a mix of indifference, dread, and maybe even quiet rebellion. Here's an intriguing fact. 70% of people report feeling some form of anxiety about their birthdays. But for Sigma females, this anxiety isn't about aging or planning the perfect party. It's deeper, rooted in their disdain for performative rituals, societal expectations, and the uncomfortable spotlight. Imagine forcing a lone wolf to wear a party hat and endure small talk with strangers. It's not just unnatural, it's almost cruel. Sigma females would rather spend the day scaling new heights in solitude or getting lost in a philosophical rabbit hole than endure what they see as an exhausting charade. In this piece, we'll explore the 10 extraordinary reasons why birthdays, for a Sigma female, are less a celebration and more a confrontation with everything they instinctively avoid, peppered with humor, truth, and a touch of their signature mystery. Number 1. Detest performative attention. Sigma females have a deep aversion to performative attention, and birthdays amplify this discomfort in ways most people can't understand. On this day, they're bombarded with messages, calls, and well-wishes that often feel hollow, as though delivered out of obligation rather than genuine emotion. To them, these gestures are not celebrations of who they are, but rehearsed lines in a societal script everyone feels pressured to follow. The idea of receiving 100 happy birthday texts, many from people they barely speak to, is not heartwarming, it's exasperating. Sigma females crave authenticity in their relationships, and they can spot a lack of sincerity from miles away. Birthdays, however, strip people of subtlety, forcing even acquaintances to engage in surface-level acts of kindness that feel more like checking a box than sharing a connection. This isn't to say that Sigma females dislike being appreciated. They simply value it in its raw, unfiltered form. A genuine compliment out of the blue or a heartfelt message on a random Tuesday carries more weight than an obligatory "hope you have a great day" stamped with confetti emojis. The flood of attention on their birthday feels like a performance meant to satisfy social expectations rather than nurture true bonds. To add to the irritation, these gestures often come without understanding who they are or what they value. People who don't truly know them might buy a gift that doesn't align with their interests or suggest plans that don't resonate. The entire ordeal feels like an exhausting parade of shallow interactions, leaving Sigma females longing for the kind of quiet, meaningful exchanges they thrive on. To them, performative attention isn't flattering. It's a glaring reminder of how misunderstood they can be in a world addicted to appearances. Number 2. Rebellion against societal milestones. Sigma females often hate their birthdays because they feel like society uses the day to measure them against arbitrary milestones they've never cared about. Birthdays become less about celebrating individuality and more about ticking off life's so-called achievements: career success, romantic relationships, family, financial stability. These expectations, often wrapped in well-meaning questions like, "What's next for you?" or "Are you seeing anyone yet?" feel suffocating and invasive to someone who thrives on forging their own unique path. For Sigma females, these societal milestones are a reminder of a rule book they never agreed to follow. They don't measure their success by the number of promotions they've gotten by a certain age or whether their life looks Instagram perfect. Yet birthdays often serve as a stage where others project these expectations onto them, whether through subtle comments or outright comparisons. It's not a celebration, it's an interrogation. Even worse, birthdays can amplify the gap between what society expects and the life they're building. A Sigma female might be perfectly content with her unconventional career, her decision not to marry, or her refusal to follow the typical timeline. But on her birthday, those choices often come under scrutiny. It's exhausting to explain, defend, or justify decisions that feel so natural to her but seem unconventional to others. This clash between individual values and societal norms turns birthdays into an unwelcome reminder that the world often judges worth through a narrow lens. Sigma females don't fear aging. They fear being boxed into definitions that don't fit. To them, life is about freedom, growth, and authenticity, not meeting checkpoints someone else decided were important. Birthdays disrupt that flow, making them feel like they're stuck in someone else's game, and that's a feeling they simply can't stand. Number 3. Silent protest against capitalism. For Sigma females, birthdays often represent everything they dislike about modern consumer culture. What should be a meaningful day to reflect on growth and personal connections has instead been hijacked by flashy, overpriced displays of celebration. From elaborate party decorations to obligatory gift-giving, the entire concept feels less like genuine appreciation and more like a commercial transaction. They're not against giving or receiving gifts, but the forced nature of it, where people feel compelled to spend money just to avoid social awkwardness, feels disingenuous. Sigma females are the kind of people who value a handwritten letter or a heartfelt conversation far more than an expensive but thoughtless present. To them, the commercial aspect of birthdays cheapens the experience, turning it into an event designed to fuel capitalism rather than foster real connection. Party planning in particular can feel like a performative nightmare. The balloons, streamers, and themed cakes, things meant to signify joy, can strike Sigma females as wasteful and unnecessary. They see no need to buy into trends or traditions simply for the sake of appearances. The idea of spending hundreds of dollars on decorations that will be thrown away the next day is not just unappealing, it feels fundamentally wrong. Then there's the social pressure of reciprocation. If someone gives them a lavish gift, they're now expected to return the favor, not out of genuine desire, but to avoid seeming ungrateful. Sigma females see through this transactional dynamic and resent how it distorts the simplicity of relationships. At its core, a birthday should be about celebrating life, not boosting the economy. For a Sigma female, refusing to participate in this cycle isn't just a preference. It's a silent protest against a world that prioritizes profit over authenticity. Number 4. Increased pressure to perform happiness. For Sigma females, birthdays come with an exhausting, unspoken expectation to perform happiness regardless of how they genuinely feel. Society has crafted a narrative that birthdays are supposed to be the happiest day of the year, and anything less than radiant joy can come across as ungrateful or moody. But for Sigma females, who value authenticity above all else, this forced display of cheerfulness feels like a betrayal of their true emotions. They're not the type to fake a smile or pretend everything is perfect just because it's their birthday. If they're feeling reflective, overwhelmed, or even indifferent, they'd rather sit with those emotions than suppress them for the sake of appearances. Yet birthdays seem to demand an almost theatrical level of excitement, posing for photos, cutting the cake with enthusiasm, and endlessly thanking everyone for showing up, even when they'd prefer a quiet evening alone. The pressure doesn't just come from others, it's embedded in the rituals of the day. Everyone gathers around expecting the birthday person to beam with happiness, make heartfelt toasts, and soak in the attention. For a Sigma female who often dislikes being the center of attention in the first place, this spotlight can feel stifling. Even expressions of gratitude can become complicated. While they might deeply appreciate the effort of those around them, Sigma females often struggle with the performative gratitude that birthdays seem to require. Saying thank you over and over, especially when the gestures don't align with their values, can feel insincere and exhausting. Ultimately, the expectation to perform happiness conflicts with their core belief that emotions should be genuine, not manufactured. For Sigma females, the freedom to feel whatever they truly feel, not what's expected, is the real gift they'd rather receive. Number 5. Time as a creative construct. Sigma females often view time through a lens that defies conventional norms, seeing it as a fluid, creative construct rather than a rigid, linear progression. Birthdays, which society has tied to age and achievement, feel to them like an arbitrary checkpoint, a shallow, standardized reminder of the passage of time. To a Sigma female, it's not the years that matter, but how those years are filled. And a date on the calendar is hardly the right measure for that. While others might use their birthdays to count accomplishments or set goals, Sigma females reject the idea that one day can define their progress or worth. Life to them is not about neatly divided chapters or meeting milestones at the right time. They view their journey as an ever-evolving narrative, and pinning meaning to a single day each year feels reductive. They might question why society glorifies the act of turning a year older when the deeper question should be, what have I truly learned, experienced, or created in this time? The commercialized and ritualized aspects of birthdays, marked by candles, gifts, and parties, seem to contradict the organic, personal way Sigma females approach their existence. The repetitive nature of these celebrations reinforces the idea that time is linear and mechanical, which clashes with their view that time is an unfolding canvas, ripe for reinterpretation. This perception often makes them resistant to being tied to arbitrary markers like age. For Sigma females, it's not about how many years they've lived, but the depth and authenticity of their experiences. Birthdays, in their traditional form, feel like society's way of boxing time into predictable increments, an idea they quietly resist by refusing to give the day more significance than it deserves. Number 6. The unbearable spotlight. For Sigma females, birthdays come with an unwanted burden, the spotlight. Unlike alphas, who may thrive in the center of attention, Sigma females find it intrusive and exhausting. A day that demands them to be the focal point, whether through parties, surprise gatherings, or the endless stream of well-meaning messages, feels more like an endurance test than a celebration. The spotlight is particularly unbearable because it feels inauthentic. For a Sigma female, true connection isn't about being the center of a crowd, but engaging in deep, meaningful interactions. Birthdays, however, flip that dynamic. Suddenly, everyone's eyes are on them, expecting smiles, gratitude, and enthusiasm, whether or not they feel those emotions. To a Sigma, this performance feels suffocating, as if they're being forced to play a role they never auditioned for. This discomfort stems from their fiercely independent nature. Sigma females prefer to operate behind the scenes, thriving in environments where their actions speak louder than words. Birthdays, however, strip them of that autonomy. They're expected to bask in the attention, accept every compliment, and engage in conversations that often lack depth, all of which drain their energy and feel fundamentally at odds with their true self. Even small acts like being sung happy birthday in a room full of people can feel unbearably awkward. While others might see this as a moment of joy, Sigma females experience it as a spotlight they neither wanted nor needed. It's not shyness or insecurity. It's a deep-seated preference for authenticity over spectacle. Ultimately, the unbearable spotlight of a birthday disrupts the equilibrium they work so hard to maintain. It's a reminder that, for one day, they're expected to conform to societal norms, even if it means sacrificing their comfort and individuality. Number 7. Introspection over celebration. For a Sigma female, birthdays are less about balloons and champagne and more about taking a hard, honest look at her life. To her, it's not a day to party or bask in the glow of others' attention. It's a moment to pause and assess where she's been, where she's headed, and whether her actions align with her deeper purpose. This intense introspection makes the idea of a big, shallow celebration seem not just unappealing, but almost irrelevant. The typical trappings of birthdays, distracting parties, generic greetings, and social obligations pull focus away from what truly matters to her: growth, meaning, and authenticity. She doesn't want a room full of people singing out of tune while she pretends to enjoy the spectacle. She'd much rather spend the day in solitude, peeling back the layers of her experiences, examining her successes and failures, and recalibrating her path forward. This self-reflective nature doesn't stem from negativity or gloom. It's a byproduct of her relentless drive for self-awareness. Sigma females are deeply introspective by design, and their birthdays amplify this tendency. Instead of measuring the year in achievements others might celebrate, promotions, relationships, or material milestones, they measure it in moments of clarity, resilience, and authenticity. Did they stay true to themselves? Did they grow in ways that mattered? Did they live in alignment with their values? To most people, this level of introspection might seem heavy for a day meant for celebration. But to a Sigma female, it's the ultimate gift she can give herself. The time and space to reconnect with her inner world, free from the noise and distractions of superficial festivities. For her, this quiet, unflinching self-analysis is not a burden. It's how she honors the passage of another year. Number 8. The emotional weight of aging. For Sigma females, birthdays carry a unique emotional weight, not because they fear growing older, but because they use the day as a brutal reality check against their personal ambitions. They're not preoccupied with wrinkles or societal age norms. Their focus is entirely internal. To them, aging isn't the enemy. Stagnation is. Each birthday feels like a checkpoint, forcing them to confront the gap between where they are and where they envisioned themselves by now. It's not about societal milestones like marriage, kids, or flashy careers, but deeply personal goals that align with their values and passions. Whether it's writing that book, starting a meaningful project, or mastering a skill, any unfulfilled ambition weighs heavily on their minds. This relentless self-evaluation can turn what's supposed to be a joyous occasion into a sobering reminder of the work still left to do. Sigma females aren't ones to blame external circumstances. Instead, they look inward, often with a critical lens. They ask themselves tough questions. Have I grown enough? Am I truly living authentically? Have I wasted time? These thoughts aren't born out of self-pity, but out of their intense drive to reach their full potential. The emotional weight of a birthday stems from the internal pressure they place on themselves. While others might take the day as a chance to relax or celebrate, Sigma females often use it to recalibrate their efforts, recommit to their goals, and silently vow to do better in the coming year. For them, the passing of another year isn't just a mark of time, it's a call to action. And while this mindset fuels their growth, it can also make birthdays feel less like a celebration of life and more like a stark reminder of how much further they want to go. Number 9. Craving of genuine connection over festivities. For Sigma females, the idea of a birthday party packed with people, many of whom they barely know or share only surface-level relationships with, feels not just exhausting but entirely pointless. They crave genuine connection, not the superficial interactions that often come with such gatherings. To them, a room full of small talk and forced cheer is the antithesis of what a meaningful celebration should be. Sigma females aren't antisocial, they're selective. They invest deeply in the relationships that matter to them, valuing quality over quantity. The thought of inviting acquaintances, co-workers, or distant relatives just to fill the room feels hollow and insincere. A gathering without depth or purpose isn't a celebration, it's a chore. Even well-meaning guests can add to their discomfort. Sigma females often find themselves caught in a web of shallow conversations about topics they have no interest in. What's your plan for this year? Or how's work going? Are questions that feel performative rather than authentic. These interactions drain their energy, leaving them wondering why they didn't just spend the day alone or with the few people who truly get them. What Sigma females truly value on their birthdays is authenticity. They'd rather share a quiet dinner with one or two close friends who understand their quirks and passions than endure a crowd of acquaintances who are there out of obligation. For them, connection isn't about how many people show up. It's about the depth of the bond they share with those who matter. This craving for genuine connection is why traditional birthday festivities often fall flat for Sigma females. They don't need balloons, music, or a packed guest list. All they want is authenticity, a rare gift in a world obsessed with appearances. Number 10. Disdain for arbitrary social hierarchies. For Sigma females, birthdays come with a built-in social hierarchy that feels uncomfortable and unnatural. The focus is on the birthday person, who's expected to be the center of attention, showered with praise and special treatment. But for someone who values authenticity and mutual respect over superficial dynamics, this temporary elevation feels hollow and forced. Sigma females don't like being placed on a pedestal even for a day. They aren't interested in being revered simply because the calendar says it's their birthday. They want to be valued for who they are, day in and day out, based on the depth of their character and their actions, not an arbitrary celebration. This fleeting hierarchy is something Sigma females instinctively reject. They dislike the way people adjust their behavior around the birthday person, offering fake compliments or exaggerated attention in an effort to fit into the social mold of the occasion. To them, this construct is shallow, often driven more by social obligation than true admiration. It feels disingenuous and, frankly, uncomfortable. Sigma females prefer relationships that are rooted in mutual respect, where everyone is on equal footing. They aren't interested in the rituals that elevate one person for a day while subtly devaluing others. Birthdays in this context feel like a game they didn't sign up for. They'd rather have deep, meaningful interactions with those they care about, where no one is being put on display for the sake of convention. Ultimately, the birthday hierarchy makes Sigma females feel like they're participating in an inauthentic social ritual that doesn't align with their personal values. They want to be seen and valued as a whole person, not just the recipient of temporary attention based on a day that holds little significance to them. In the end, birthdays for Sigma females are far from the joyous celebrations society expects them to be. To them, the day often feels like a clash of superficial expectations and a world that refuses to acknowledge the depth of their individuality. They're not interested in forced attention, shallow rituals, or arbitrary markers of time. What they crave is authenticity, genuine connections, and the freedom to chart their own course without the weight of external pressure. While others might eagerly anticipate the spotlight and the fanfare, Sigma females are more inclined to turn inward, reflecting on their journey and recalibrating their goals. Their birthdays serve as a moment of quiet introspection, not an occasion for forced festivities or performative gestures. It's a time to assess their growth, revisit their ambitions, and connect with the few people who truly matter in a way that's authentic and untainted by societal expectations. For Sigma females, aging is not a source of anxiety, but rather a reminder of the constant pursuit of self-awareness and growth. They don't need a room full of people or extravagant celebrations to feel validated. They seek meaning, purpose, and the freedom to live life on their own terms. Birthdays may be just another day for them, but one thing is certain. When they choose to celebrate, it will be on their own terms, in a way that truly honors who they are and where they're going. If you found this insight into the unique perspective of Sigma females intriguing, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss a thought-provoking discussion like this. We love diving deep into topics that matter, and your engagement helps us keep the conversation going. Make sure to like if you resonate with what's been shared, comment your thoughts, experiences, or any personal insights you have. Let's keep the dialogue open and honest. And of course, don't forget to share this with someone who might benefit from seeing things through the Sigma lens. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you in the next one, where we'll continue exploring the extraordinary, the unique, and the unapologetically authentic.